Hey guys, Tarke here, and before we get into the video, I want to just show off some of the cool items I've had dropped for me in SSF, but this will just be more of an update and some general build talk kind of discussion, with some gameplay thrown in the background later on. So, as for the really cool items I've had dropped today, we've had the Wick jewel, which is the new multiple spectre thing. These are all kind of items that I plan on building around soon TM. So yeah, this is a really interesting mechanical jewel. So the idea is that your spectres have like a duration, and you just are randomly summoning whatever spectre just drops. And I think that's kind of cool. I'm usually not that into the whole summoner playstyle, but this might be enough to make me want to actually try it out for once. Duedries is just powerful. I'm going to use that in a build later. We got a Gluttony Belt. Gluttony Belt's really cool. So it gives a bunch of life, then it gives you cursed enemies level 30, poacher's mark on hit, which applies to hexproof enemies, and then culling strike against enemies cursed with poacher's mark, and then you have no armor or energy shield, and you take damage when you use a movement skill. So basically it's ideal for using on an acro based bow or wander, and I've got pretty good gear to play either a bow or wander character. So we had a Lionized Glare drop, not the best roll, and we also had a Lycosidae drop. I did an Itzuri run earlier to get the Itzuri's Promised Flask, and during that run I had a Lycosidae drop. So yeah, we've actually got pretty good options for playing with the Gluttony Belt. Had to do a Hegemony's Air drop today. Yeah, a bit of an old flashback item, but still a very rare item, and with the very interesting looking Vaal Earthquake, maybe something I'll mess around with. We had a Famine Bind off of re-rolling random Incursion, trying to get Abyssco's Belt. It keeps eluding me. And it's just kind of an interesting item. You can do cool things with it with the increased flask effect duration. Maybe combo it alongside the Flask, the Soul Catcher Flask, to have some crazy Vaal uptime. Potential ideas are floating in the background. We've had one Obliteration wand. I want to do a double Obliteration build at some point this league, so we're halfway there. We had a Witchfire Brew. Again, I want to do this whole Vaal Blight Obliteration thing. You can use the Sacrificial Heart Amulet to add a bunch of flat damage. This adds to everything, so it's Profane Bloom or Heralds. I mean, you could do some weird Autobomber-esque Occultist or Elementalist builds. I've got a couple of pairs of Syntrex. There's kind of something sort of bubbling in the background, but that I need to really sort of nail down exactly what I want to do there. We've had a Soul Mantle drop and one Kikazaru Ring, so that is the option to some PogChamp Pyro or Sarn Totem character. Then we've had a Skeever drop. I could just go right, Skeever plus Lycosidae, that is good enough, and do Frostblades, perfect starter setup. Anything, zoom, gonna go fast. And then we've had two of the vials drop. These are what you use to upgrade the Incursion items. I just need to get the items to upgrade alongside it. And then I've had two very interesting corruptions of builds that I want to play with. So I've had the Alden Claw. Anyone who remembers my old Blight Occultist build from Turmoil? I use this Claw to automate Abyssal Cry, and we rando Vaal to chance to get a Frenzy Charge on kill, which is really, really powerful. So what you do is you link in Added Chaos, Increased Area of Effect, and Onslaught into this Claw. So every time you shield charge and it hits a pack of mobs, if it's not on cooldown, it shoots out the Abyssal Cry. It's a really big Abyssal Cry because of the increased AoE. It does a bunch of damage thanks to the Added Chaos gem, and it gives you Onslaught, and it would then give you Frenzy Charges on kill. So the Onslaught and the Frenzy Charge duration makes up for the fact that it doesn't have the attack speed roll on there. And I think that could just be really powerful. And then Kong Ming's is a really, really powerful shield in this current meta, especially for all the Saboteurs out there. So it gives you 30% reduced spell damage taken from blinded enemies. Saboteur blinds nearby enemies, get a bunch of AoE. That scales the blind radius from that. It drops Fog of War when your traps is triggered. That is a smoke mine, blind field kind of thing. It gives you some increased fire damage with hits and elements. So if you're a fire trap or flamethrower trap, it gives you a little bit of damage there. And we corrupted 24% reduced extra damage from crit strikes. So this is a crazy defensive shield. Really wowzer. So I'm really excited to do something with that. I really want to do something cool with that. And we did also get the Apex Slumber. This is the base version. The upgraded version is the shield which has crazy increased any shield recharge rate and bleed immune. Again, just begging to be thrown on an Occultist. Maybe if I get the upgraded Apex, that plus Alden Claw, plus Witchfire Brew, go double Blasphemy, Temp Enfeeble, use this for the Despair, Vaal Blight action, zoom, 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 zoom. Yoji is playing that build, and he says he really enjoys it, and Vaal Blight does scale and stack with normal Blight, so there's some really interesting like potential builds on the horizon there. In terms of like GG corruptions, we've got a couple of like white Sedeema's touches, but the main like cool corruptions we've gotten have been just manual Vaal Orbs. I haven't really had anything that spectacular otherwise, but yeah, so if you get a rough idea of the builds that we're planning in the future, but what build am I currently playing after that very, very long intro, we are playing some beautiful, some premium aesthetic Vaal Blade Vortex action. The new Vaal Blade Vortex is absolutely cray-gazamingo, excuse this fixing in the background, with the new heralds, and I swear to God, the new heralds are a blessing and a curse. Everyone in the stream only asked me one question: what is that explosion effect? So the thing which makes Blade Vortex feel so much better now is it went from 20 to 10 stacks, meaning you no longer need to use Spell Echo, meaning you can use another utility link. Some people are using Increased Duration. I'm using Efficacy currently, but you could even experiment using both. And it hits much faster. And because it has way lower stacks, with just like 1 or 2 stacks of Blade Vortex, you just zoom through all the maps, clear everything super easy, and it just feels absolutely beautiful. So for anyone who was watching my video, the last one, we were talking about a Magma Orb character. That character didn't die. We've only died once this league, and that was on the Scorcher character. So we're playing Magma Orb. We farmed up a Sarv Shards, we equipped the Sarv Shards, Magma Orb felt good. It felt good. I was then like, well, you know, what if I did like Fireballs, because then I could put the Vaal Fireball in the Sarv Shards as well, benefit from the extra charges, let's try that out. I tried Fireball for a bit. Fireball felt better than Magma Orb, and I was like, this seems cool. So I then did Fireball from at 7 till at 9, and was like enjoying it. I'm like, yeah, this seems good, this seems good. And then I was like, out of interest, let's just try Arc to see how much better Arc is. I tried Arc for all of like one zone and thought Arc was really cool. And then I thought, well, let's just try a like a level 8 Blade Vortex, because that was the only thing I could equip with my current dex values. And with a Blade Vortex, which required like level 40 to equip, I was absolutely destroying everything in Act 9. And I was like, yeah, no, this seems really good. So then I used my my incredibly low-level Blade Vortex to face roll Katava, and then I specced into a bunch of dex nodes, and then it was like, oh, stuff sort of seems to be working now. So I just sort of stuck to Blade Vortex from there. It feels really good. I'm really enjoying it. Now, some people are going crit, some people are going Ellie Overload. I'm currently crit, and I actually want to respec into Ellie Overload. The reason why some people are speccing out of crit into Ellie Overload is mostly just because of how powerful Heralds are now. And when you're doing the whole triple Herald Elementalist setup, and this room really shows the power of this build. With the Vaal Blade Vortex just doubling, so the way it works, you just throw out another Blade Vortex which does the same thing. It doubles your single target damage pretty much. And it makes a map clear an absolute breeze. Another very nice thing about it is that if there's like a scary encounter, you can just throw the Blade Vortex into the scare room, it kills the room, then you go in afterwards. But yeah, so a lot of people are using Heralds for a lot of their clear, and Ellie Overload just scales the Heralds and all the flat added damage a bit harder. And also, because you're going Ellie Overload, you save roughly about 20-ish points on crit nodes, which you can then redistribute into more defensive nodes on the skill tree. Stuff like Phase Acro, again, spells are very, very rippy in Incursion. So you get like a slightly tankier build, you trade off some damage, but gain better like map clear because your Herald damage goes up. So it's like your Blade Vortex damage goes down, but your Herald damage goes up, so it evens out for general map clear. Obviously, if you're doing like, you know, Uber Elder farming, you'd probably want to still stay crit, but for general map stuff and Incursion stuff, you just kind of want to be tanky. The way that I'm currently getting around the whole Incursion is spoopy scenario is just having an absolute shit ton of Chaos Res. I have positive 58 Chaos Res currently. I achieved this through the Purity of Flesh cluster, giving me 20%. A Ming's Heart Ring giving me 63% Chaos Res. and then I have Nitziri's Promise giving me the remainder. So when the Nitziri's Promise is down, I have something like 20% Chaos Res, and then with everything up, we're at nice to like 58%. So feels zesty, man. And yeah, the single target is amazing. The map clear is amazing. The explosions are amazing. I'm not going to do a build guide or anything because I don't know if I'm doing crit or rally overload. I'll mess around with it, experiment, and sort of get back to you guys. But if you are curious in the crit version, if you look at my profile, I'm currently crit. And if you look at my previous YouTube video where I say generic crit trees, I show a Blade Vortex tree there. If you want an example of Ellie Overload characters, both Noogie and Steel are doing Ellie Overload characters. So if you want to compare, look at their profiles. But yeah, that's just sort of like a rough kind of what have I been up to. If we look at it, I think I'm level 87, yeah, 87 now. And in terms of Atlas, we're just clearing in tier by tier by tier. Since it's SSF, you need to like be quite methodical with unlocking your stuff. So we've got all the 3s unlocked, all the 4s but Strand, we're going to vendor SP into it, and then all the 5s unlocked but Ivory Temple. And I'm trying to get the Ivory Temple unlocked before I go into the 6s, and then so on and so forth. For my current gear, we're just using a high attack speed crit dagger. We're using Ashrend. We haven't had any tabulas yet. We're like 1 div card off getting a tabula. I haven't bothered farming out the full set because I have enough damage already. And the Ashrend gives me a pseudo 6 link anyway, since it gives me added chaos. So my current links are Blade Vortex, Control Destruction, Fizz to Lightning, Hypothermia, and then Efficacy. But you could use Increased Duration instead, and then the added fire from the item. And then we've got some Rim Burn for the remaining Fizz to LE conversions. We have 100% LE conversion with the 2 of those. We're using a Belt the Deceiver just to reduce extra damage we take from crits, make me a bit tankier. And then it's just like life, resist gear, everywhere else. That helm is pretty terrible. I should probably try replacing that. And then this has some movement speed and a little bit of dodge on there. So yeah, try not to get one shot. Have a bunch of Chaos Res, 58% there. Plus Blade Vortex. Zoom about. Feels good, man. And that looked really laggy. Wow. But yes, I'm Tarke. Have a good day. Bye-bye.